So hello everybody, welcome back. So I hope that you like this series about news. However, if you are the type of person that do not like being informed about bad things or stuff like that, then or maybe you are pessimistic or something like that, then ignorance is bliss. So please skip this video. Quite frankly, this video is so weird, and it is so like you will need to think about all of this in a very, very cold way in order for you to understand a lot of things. And so this is a thing that I don't even know how to put it together for you. But I'm doing my best here to try to make you understand another perspective into a situation that, quite frankly, is hopeless. And I do mean the results for this is hopeless. And so the whole situation will very likely create actual hell for so many people. And this means that you will have to create a shield of apathy or grow up your level so high that your enthusiasm actually overcomes this issue. And so do not drink anything for this video. Quite frankly, if you drink it, you might be kind of like spitting out the coffee or I don't know, maybe choking, like I can't breathe. Yeah, kind of like that. So anyway, however, if you wanted to share a coffee with me while you're at it, or take a look at my books, the links for all of that down below. And so, again, ignorance is bliss, and like I said, if you are not ready to be called, then skip this video. However, if you are ready, then I'm going to try to explain to you a couple of things. So, Universe 25. What is that? And why is it relevant? Well, like I said, this is a news video. So it is news is actually information that is either being recycled or is either too bright or either too dark. An information that is relevant because it is supposed to make you think, and it is also supposed to make you feel. And the whole point is that you understand several points of views about the same piece of information. And that is why it's called news. It's because you look at information in a new light every time that you get another perspective. And so this is important. So what is Universe 25 and what is that? And why is it relevant? So we have a guy in the United States called Joel Colhoun. I do not know, how to pronounce that. John Colhoun. He made an experiment with rodents. These rodents are smart, okay? And he did the experiment. It was so, every time that you do an experiment, you have expectations. These expectations are called hypotheses, meaning you are thinking that it's going to go one way, but reality will prove you either wrong, right, or somewhat in the middle. And after you get the information in your head versus the information in reality, you compare them and then you get conclusions. And then you try again because your conclusion might be wrong, or maybe the conditions of that idea were wrong. So when your idea about what is happening in your head differs so freaking much from what actually happens in reality, you don't get it. Quite frankly, it's a mental breakdown. It's sort of like, wait, what? Fire doesn't burn? Why? What do you mean fire doesn't burn? Of course fire burns, sort of like that. And then there is a fire that won't burn you, and then you're like, no, this is not happening. So you will have to do this like 1,000 times over because you don't believe it, despite the fact that reality has proved you wrong. You won't believe it. And so your mind will protect itself by denying the data. This is why we have scientists, and scientists are the ones that are supposed to break our heads, and they are the ones who are supposed to break our minds, saying, fire burns all the time, except when it's this and this and this and this and that, So you add conditions or you add stuff, and then that way, your mind goes, oh, that's why. Kind of like that, because otherwise your mind will not be able to take it. So this guy had an idea about, possible outcomes. So I have, he wanted to prove that in a good environment, society will collapse because of lack of resources. And so he put these rodents into an area that was enough to sustain at least 1,000 of them. So basically, it's kind of like, think about you being with, a community that is small, maybe 10 people or something like that, and you have the entire, Australian continent for yourself. It's sort of like that equivalent, okay? And not only that, but he provided food for the rodents. So he not only did provide a lot of space, he also provided clean water and a lot of resources to the rodents. They had to do nothing to earn those things. It's kind of like you, I'm saying to you again, try to think about you having an angel, okay? You have 10 people with a continent the size of Australia, or maybe half the size of Australia, and it is for you, the 10 of you. And you have an angel that comes every single day from heaven, and every single day the angel will provide, food, like if you were in a restaurant. Okay? The angel will put a lot of food in a table, so you don't have to work for the food or anything at all. Okay? So that means that all you have to do is have sex and be happy. Basically. That's it. Nothing else. So the question was, how long will it take for this community to get to, to fulfill all of the continent, okay? And what will happen, because these are rats, okay? They multiply like crazy. And how long will it take for the, will they, will they share, will they, it's sort of like, okay, we're going to go to Australia, so basically, how long will it take us for us to die of, overeating or something like that? So at this point, I want you to think about, what do you think will happen to humans that are multiplying like crazy? Because we have a lot of food, a lot of water, and we have a lot of space. So what do you think will happen? I mean, okay, these are rats, but, obviously, you're thinking, okay, we're going to multiply crazy, so there is going to be a point in which we will be fighting for the territory, and, we might be killing each other or whatever, stuff like that, and that might be kind of like, okay, so I want you to think about your hypothesis. What do you think happened to these rodents? And what do you think happened, that is so freaking like beyond what beyond your expectations and beyond your wildest dreams, that this guy had to do the experiment 25 times with the exact same freaking results. 25 times out of 25, they were the exact same result. And they are not what you are expecting, very likely. So please, now you can pause this video, now you can drink a coffee, and now you can write down what you think happened. I mean, how long do you think these rats are going to take over all of this land? And how long do you think they will be before they start fighting with each other for the territory, or killing each other for the territory, or even becoming cannibalist or something like that, okay? Because that is a theory, right? I mean, these are animals that are competing for the same territory, so maybe they are going to become cannibalists or something like that, because obviously, I don't know. So all of these things, write down everything that you can think of that happens, and then come back. So please, do it. Please, seriously, do it. And thank you. Okay. Done it? Seriously? Okay. So, I'm going to read to you what actually happened the 25 times. And sorry, I'm trying to, this data is in Spanish, so I'm trying to translate. So it can take a little bit of time. So, Universe 25 was one of the most terrifying experiments in the history of science, and it was so bad that scientists all over tried to explain this. Now, in 1958, between 1958 and 1962, a scientist called John Colholm in the United States created what we called a paradise for mice. Okay? These mice had an abundance of food, water, and space. And in the beginning, he put 4 couples of rodents so that they will be able to reproduce. And these were Norwegian rats or Norwegian mice or something like that. Okay, so on day 315, things changed extremely bad for the rats, because the number of rodents was about 600. So basically, in 1 year, 4 couples was nearly 600 rodents. But approximately between that time, that time, the rodents became, some of them, male by the way, became what we called miserable kind of rodents. So these ones are, this is big because this is what happens. The biggest rodents starting attacking the entire group. And at this point, a lot of the males starting to collapse psychologically. because the bigger men or the bigger, the bigger rats were intimidating the smaller ones. So it's sort of like, you can consider this like bullying, okay? So there was a lot of rodents that were big. They started, bullying the smaller mice, even though that they were both, By the way, at this point, it says that they still have a lot of space. They still have a lot of water, and they still have a lot of things, and yet, they are like doing a hierarchy of things. And in this hierarchy, the male, if they are not big and strong, they will have psychological injuries. It says literally, collapse psychologically. So try to imagine that. Now, at this point, female protected themselves, and because they were freaking out, they started to become aggressive towards the kids or the smaller rats. So basically, the bullies appeared. The bullies started, attacking the male. The male, the small male, did not fight back or whatever. Women, females started to feel insecure and all kinds of things, and therefore they started to become aggressive. And as soon as the females started to become aggressive, they attacked the kids. Now, as time progressed, the females were more and more and more aggressive, and they were also isolated, meaning, instead of being like in a group, the females started to being alone. Now, that one is extremely bad for females. If females do not have a group, oh my God, that one is crap. This created lack of enthusiasm for reproduction. There was a down in the birth of the rats, and at the same time, the younger rats, as in the teens or stuff like that, the equivalent of that, were dying very, very, very fast. Okay? And at this point, where the teens started to die, and they understood that they will die, meaning, they're not going to survive the strong, the bullies, the ones that are big, and they are also not going to survive, they can't rely upon the females, because the females are also isolated, they are alone. I mean, what are you going to do with one female? What is one female going to, support you? No, she can't, because she's already alone. And so, at this point, there was something that was entirely new. It was entirely new. It was called the beautiful mice. And then you're thinking, what is that? Well, these mice are beautiful. And these mice, male, they refuse to mate with the females. They didn't care about anymore about sex. They also didn't fight for the space. They could care less about anything. All they did was eating and sleeping. And at these points, the beautiful male and the isolated female were the biggest junk, or the biggest part of the whole society. And because of this, like I said, it was too many males were beautiful males. Too many of the female were just isolated and totally like weird. The mortality in the youth, as in the teens, was 100%. I'm going to repeat this. After the rats that are beautiful grew up, and there was no more interest in sex and anything like that, and the females were totally isolated and they did not know what to do or anything, the mortality rate for all the teens was 100%. All of it. And reproduction, therefore, became zero. Zero. And among the rats that were in the period of extinction, meaning the ones that became beautiful, it was observed that homosexuality was created. Homosexuality was created. And not only that, but at this point, despite the fact that all of the rats continued to have food and continued to have water and continued to have a space, meaning, the rats that are beautiful, all they have to do is sleep and eat and then die. But now they become homosexual. Not only did they become homosexual, but at this time, this is where cannibalism started to happen, despite the fact that there was food all over. So rats started to choose to kill other rats rather than eat the food that they already had. And 2 years later, there was no more rats. The rats were dead. All of them. So the experiment took 2 years. And so you can imagine that, you can take a lot of conclusions for this thing. It says here that in 1973, it was, this whole thing was, like a big scandal in the community, because basically homosexuals, there were several series of points here. Number one, there was no homosexuality before the bullies. Number two, the impact on the female attacking their own pack or their own family, it was kind of unexpected. And of course, the biggest part was, if there is a lot of food and if there is a lot of water, then why go cannibalistic? Why? Why do you need cannibalism? And the other part is the psychological part of each individual within the community. It says that the females were quite aggressive because they wanted to sort of like be like men, or be like the male, obviously, because oh come on, you are seeing that the rats are big, which is good for you. I mean, you like them, right? You like a partner who is very good in terms of genes and all of that. So so this is kind of weird, because if you're thinking about it, females will always choose what we call alphas, as in strong and all of that. So here is a group of alphas, and they're not getting sex. And so you go kind of like, wait, what? How is that possible? I mean, seriously, how can that be possible? Think about it for a second. If you now have an alpha that is strong and is territorial and is all of that, then how come the female will not support that? I mean, at this point, if you're thinking about the whole sex and the whole theory of we being animals and all of that, then the small mice, as in the ones that are weak, the betas or whatever you want to call them, will just have to disappear, and the alphas will be the ones who are left, right? And if the alphas are fine, then they will get all the women. But they are not getting the women. And in fact, the women are actually, pissed to the point that they are attacking their own children. Why? That does not make any kind of sense. It's kind of like, I want a strong man around me, but as soon as I get it, I go, yeah, now I hate him and I just want to leave him and I'm not going to have anything. And in fact, I'm so freaked out that I'm not going to even bother. So, if you attack the masculinity and the masculinity goes overboard, then that is actually going to kill the sex drive for the females entirely. That tells you that if you are a guy, if you're thinking about comparing these to humans, it will be kind of like you acquiring a lot of power. So now you are a guy, a man that has, muscles and power and money and all of that. And you're thinking that that is going to get you a lot of women, but that actually takes you, and you get a lot of women in the beginning. But as soon as the women lose their connection, meaning their emotional connection towards other women and towards the guy, then that's it. Women will hate you and will actually take you down. And in fact, that is what happened. The rats started to kill and started to be aggressive towards the kids and towards both men, both kind of male rats. The weak ones because they were weak, and because the strong ones because they were strong. Because they were too bully. Meaning, it's too strong. And what the hell? So, this whole thing has so many implications. From the sociological point of view, from the psychological point of view, from the biology point of view, and from the evolution, so to speak. Because I'm going to repeat this, they never, not one day of the whole experiment, they never occupied the whole space. So this was not a fight for territory. It just wasn't. Because they still had enough space. And it wasn't about food either, because they still had a lot of food. And it wasn't about water, because they still had a lot of water. So what went wrong? And what went wrong was the fact that they were in heaven, but they were not able to create it. So I want you to think about this for a second. If you can compare these to humans. What does it mean that you already have a heaven and you are not able to create it, and you are not able to sustain the one that you already have? So what are the implications for that? That means, sorry, I get interrupted all the time. That means, like I said, I keep getting interrupted. So the whole point about this experiment, if you were going to look at it from a philosophical point of view, yes, from philosophy, will be asking yourself, why, if these rats were in heaven, and why, if they had food, they will choose to attack their, their community. And this also means, why are you not able to see that you already have a heaven? And why does this hierarchy, it became like that? And why did the rats chose to become homosexual instead of choosing to either cooperate or choosing to fight? Why will you not fight? If you are a male, why will you choose to give up? Why will you choose to just give up to even reproduction, or giving up on everything? Is the fear of other males so hard that this is just not worth it? And as a female, then if you can already get a strong man, then, because it's going to be a clear, big, huge difference between the bigger ones and the beautiful ones. Why is it that if you already got the one that has power and everything, then what's wrong? Why won't you show enough interest in sex and all of that? And the answer lies, part of the answer lies in the fact that females are, they are emotionally connected. And so if the strong guy shows that they have, no mercy, and they have, it's sort of like they don't have a soul or something like that. I mean, if you get men that are fighting with one another, you might be kind of like, okay, you can continue to fight, and that it's okay. But there is a point in which is one of the males becomes just a murderer. Do you really want to be with a guy that is a psychopath and just starts killing everybody? I mean, come on, if the guy is just out of his freaking mind and is going to kill everybody just for fun, then of course he's going to kill you. So now you are afraid of the guy. I mean, the guy overdid it. You wanted him to be strong, but you did not want him to go ballistic. Okay, so basically the men became too obsessed with power, thinking that this power will lead you towards getting more sex and getting more satisfaction. But the women are so freaked out about you. I mean, can't you see that? There is a lot of women who are feminazi kind of thing, and they are all about men who are demons. And so women are sort of like, oh no, men are evil, they should be dead. Kind of like that, And it's because certain men overdid it. And of course, the other men, rather than stop them or fight them or do something, they became scared. So I have a question. If you are a guy, and you're the one who is supposed to lead, and you're the one who is supposed to be strong, and you're the one who is supposed to, sort of be like the shield of in a battle, you will be kind of like the shield. You will be both the shield and the sword. What will happen if you give up? If you give up and now you actually want to be like the woman, What do you think is going to happen to reproduction? And what do you think is going to happen to virtually families and to communities and to the whole place? There is going to be a point in which there will be an equivalent of cannibalism. And this equivalent is called communism and socialism. As in, I'm not going to work. You, the powerful one, is the one that is supposed to work. I'm too weak. I just want to live off you. And I do not care. You have to feed me. And if not, I'm just going to kill you with everybody else because I can. Kind of like that. And then you will have a lot of people, like what is happening, in a lot of countries. People that just go, and they kill other people, literally, by suicide bombing, by, whatever it is that they can. That will be kind of like the equivalent of the cannibalism part in this experiment. Because you do not need to kill other people to get what you want. Seriously, do you want to get, do you want to get money? You can make books, you can write, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. You can get a job, you can get, government help. You can get a lot of things. You can do so many things. I know it's hard and all of that, but at the end of the day, if you live in a place that has a lot of electricity and has a lot of Wi-Fi and has a lot of things that you can actually do, and a little bit of a skill or something, you can get a job and you can get money and you can, you can have a life. You don't need to kill somebody else for your food. And even in my country where there was a lot of shortages and there was a lot of things, people, it's not like, okay, you are taking the rice, so I'm going to just take a gun and kill you. We were not like that. I mean, in some instances, there was a lot of fighting. Yes, fighting. But it wasn't cannibalism, as in, it was not you killing others. Okay? Unless there were babies involved. And even then, the female, the female are attacking their own teens and their own kids. Now I have a question. If you were the teen or the kid that is born into a place in which men are either demons or gay, what will you do if you were a guy? If you were a boy? And what will you do if you are a girl or a boy, whatever it is, and then you are born into a place that women are telling you that if you are a boy, you are kind of wrong and all of these things because, women are freaking out. Women are feminazi things. And women are sort of like, yeah. So they're not going to love you and support you. They're just going to go, kind of like, yeah, honey, I'm taking my pill because I'm depressed. It's okay, honey, take whatever pill you want. Because that's how we deal with things. Just take pills. Because, we don't have anyone that will protect us, but it's okay, take the pill. The pill will make you feel better. That's the women's approach to this thing. Because we are isolated, we don't know what else to do. We either become the feminazi thing or we are like lost. And so the four groups are a mess. The bad aspect of women is out of whack. The good aspect of women is also out of whack. The bad aspect of men is out of whack. And the good aspect of men is out of whack. The four aspects are out of whack. And if you're thinking that there are only two sides, no. That's why, even in ancient times, there is always a circle, and the circle has two sides, but each side will also have a small circle inside that it is the other color. So, so you get half, but in your half you get another color. So it's sort of like that. You have a good aspect of being a woman, and you have a bad aspect of being a woman. And then you also have a good aspect of being a man, and there is a bad aspect of being a man. So you have four energies, or four things, or four aspects that you're handling. And as a kid, you have to learn how to handle the four of them. And you get it from contacting or being in touch with both the male and the female. So the female are out of whack, the male are out of whack, then what do? Do you think that these kids will have a bigger chance of survival than generations ago? I mean, after all, like I said, the experiment stated that they were clearly psychological damages in the mice. Clearly. So the end result was 100% of their teens dying. And the trend for the whole situation that we are having is that by the year 2025, according to this calendar, we will have 50% of the teens committing suicide. Do you have a kid? Do you have a teen? Do you have, a friend that have a kid or a teen? So basically, the chances of them dying is more than 50. Because that is 50% will commit suicide, according to some experts. But the other ones, they also die of other things. Because teens do die of other things, like car accidents or other type of accidents or diseases and all of that. So by year 2025, the population of the teens will probably be 60% less of what it is right now. So I have another question after that one. Why all of this is important? And how do you avoid it? The whole thing about this experiment is to prove that you need to learn you need to have a system that is a reference for what heaven is like. And that heaven is just a reference. You see, if you go to, for example, Africa, and you see what their heaven looks like, you will see that their heaven looks like your heaven, for example, if you are in England, because you have electricity, you have access to cars, you have access to very good, awesome transportation, you have access to internet, TV, cable, entertainment, food, and a lot of things. Money, banks, and a bunch of things that other people in the rest of the world cannot even dream about. If you go and if you put it into an even bigger perspective, let's say that you have somebody who is from North Korea, in which somebody already decided that if you cannot have your hair in any other way other than these 10 or 20 or whatever it is haircuts. If you if you want to do it differently, then you are going to very likely be killed. There is no such a thing as a TV. Or even reading a book about romance. You thinking that there is romance? Oh no, that doesn't happen. So we need references for heaven. And those references sometimes comes from the first generations, meaning your ancestors. The ones that got to be the pioneers, the ones that got to be in the adventure. Because you see, the rats, when they were there the first time, they did not know that they were going to be they were going to be fed forever. They did not know. They have to figure things out. They had to expand. They had to do a lot of things. They have to probably, travel all over this land, and they have to do a lot of things. And that is what we're missing. We're missing the reference for heaven. Then we need to create that heaven. And for creating heaven, you need, like I said, the reference, but you need to sort out the use of your resources, the use of space. You might need cooperation. You might need a lot of things. If you cannot create heaven, despite the fact that you already have a model, then what you already have is going to be lost, because you are not involved into life. You are being disconnected from everything, because your power of creation and your power of being important is gone. And if that is gone, then why are you here? You will just go into apathy. And if you're going into apathy, all there is left is death. Death and fear. Nothing else. So, can we at least sustain heaven? Like the experiment says, the heaven never stopped being there. It never stopped being there. The rats never stopped having food. They never stopped having the space. They never stopped having anything. But it was their perception what actually killed the heaven. So you cannot sustain heaven because you don't know what heaven is like. So pain will show up, and it will keep you in a loop forever of pain and more pain, until you pay attention to what heaven is. You take a model and then you create it, meaning you work for it. And after you work for it, now that you know how heaven works, then you can actually sustain it, because you are part of it. So do you want to change society into how things are going and where things are going and all of that? You find the heaven inside your mind, inside your brain. You compare it to what you have, and you create it from scratch. That means self-evaluation, self-discipline, self-health, and a lot of self things. And once you do it, you can balance these 4 energies, or at least try to manage them. And at this point, you have already taken the step to create heaven. And now that it is on the way of creation, all you need to do is sustain it. As in, it's not good enough that you exercise one day. in the whole year. You have to sustain it, as in every day you gotta, every day you gotta do a little bit of exercise. Every day you gotta do a little bit. Every day, little by little, little by little, little by little, it will be built, and then it will sustain itself. And then you can build more and build more and build more and build more and more. And actually this loop about you growing heaven, it will never end. Because heaven cannot stop being heaven. Heaven will never leave you. But hell will also never leave you. You have to make a choice. So every time that you make a choice and you go back to the hell, then it's okay. It's okay. We are allowed to, have leverage. Also, not everything can be heaven. Because like I just said, if everything is heaven, then there is no point. Life will be boring. And if life is boring, you already saw what happens. It becomes death. So no, we gotta go into an evolution mode. And if you are going to beat this thing, then find out what heaven is for you and make it happen. Period. That's easier said than done, but is the only way that you will avoid the actual hell.